Arsenal won, Brentford won. It match finishes in a draw. Arsenal went ahead, but then unfortunately undone by a long throw. It was a chaotic finish. If anyone looked more likely, it was actually Brentford. I think maybe Arsenal have clung on here to salvage a point. There's a lot to unpack. It was a very eventful game, end-to-end stuff. Let's get into it. This is the Real Arsenal Deal podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Real Arsenal Deal. Rav here, as always, your host. How is everyone today, wherever you are in the world? I hope you are well. Yeah, this is an instant reaction podcast, recording just minutes after the final whistle, recording this Melbourne Australian time on Friday morning. There's a lot that's going on in my head as well. It's a lot to process. That was a very, very chaotic match. The type of match that we may not be as familiar with from an Arsenal point of view. It was more stretched than I would prefer. It was end-to-end. It was nervous as well. Feeling that as well. Inside, I'm feeling that inner stress, that anxiety, and trying to process. Is this a good result for Arsenal? Is it another case of, remember that statistic that plagued us last season, points dropped from winning positions? We went ahead with about half an hour to go, and we were up 1-0. Couldn't hold on. I think we conceded 10 minutes later. And then, look, I got to be honest. I'll just get this out of the way right now. My overwhelming feeling is that Arsenal did not deserve this win. Arsenal didn't really deliver the kind of performance that we were hoping for, maybe expecting. I know there's some injuries. I know some players are fighting back from fitness. We had a boost of some players such as Trossard back into the lineup and Saka and Odegaard on the bench. I understand that. I'll come to selection. I'll come to that in a moment. For right now, we just didn't do enough. It's unfortunate. It's frustrating, and I really got to say as well. I get this out of the way, so I don't want to be just overly one way in this. I thought Brentford were fantastic. I think they're outstanding. I think if you listen to my pre-match recording a few days ago in the preview for this game, they're a very, very difficult team, very tricky opponent, a very well professionally run club. The way they're able to sell players, reinvest. They've had a lot of turmoil last season, losing their manager and key players. A lot of goals as well have come out of their team. And for them to be placed where they are in the table, it's an absolute testament. It's a credit to them. It's a nice stadium as well. It's not the biggest, it's not in terms of attendance and size, but boy, can they make noise. It was an excellent atmosphere. Everyone watching this game as well. It's a Thursday night, the only match that was on. I was saying to myself, that wouldn't have been so much easier if this match was played. Say if this match was just slipped in one of 3 or 4 games on a Saturday afternoon. It didn't quite have the spotlight that it did here. Maybe that would have fallen into our favour. I don't quite know. But they're an excellent team, and I think they deserved at least a point. And if anything, they probably deserved the win. So now, having said all of that and having that crucial part out of the way, I do want to talk about this from an Arsenal perspective. This is the type of game where, whichever angle you want to choose from, there's probably no right or wrong angle. It's all about perspective, how you want to look at this, from what lens. There's the type of lens where you can say, in that final 20 to 30 minutes after conceding the goal, that if you want to be champions, if you really want to lay a marker, that it's a type of game where champions just find a way. If you believe in that narrative, you have plenty of evidence to support that in that closing stages, because Arsenal didn't register a shot on target. In fact, please correct me if I'm wrong, aside from the Madueke goal, which was fantastic, by the way, and I do want to come to that and give it its own spot, its own deserved segment. We didn't create anything else of note, and that's the kind of thing that's nagging at me as well, that if you want to be champions, which clearly Arsenal do, if you want to go ahead and just lay that stamp and say, and grab this title race with both hands. This is the type of match where you conjure something. You just go and make it happen. One of your key players, one of your superstar players just steps up and grabs the game by the scruff of the neck and says, nah, this is mine. I'm taking this. I'm going to do what the team needs, and I'm going to go ahead and win it. And unfortunately, from an Arsenal point of view, that didn't happen. And if you believe that Arsenal don't quite have what it takes, look, I still believe Arsenal will end up winning this. It's just not going to be as easy or as quick as we'd all prefer. I think this is going to go very deep into the season, which is really going to crank up that pressure and that edginess in the fan base. However, if you're, like I was saying before, whichever narrative that you want to feed, you will find plenty of evidence in this match, because if any team looked more likely to win it, it was actually Brentford. They had more of the ball. They had more of the clear-cut chances. Their long throws were really causing us some problems. We were a bit shaky at the back. Raya, unusually, he'd spilled a few balls that normally he gobbles up. It's not often you see Arsenal picked off like that in the goal that we conceded, winning the second duel and having to play a run-off at the back post like that to score. It was a very well-worked goal, but, also we were undone by it too easily, I felt. And overall, I think Brentford will be kicking themselves because they had some clear breakout chances. Thiago skied a few. Mosquera, he got back in time with an absolutely brilliant save, maybe a game-saving. Maybe that saved us a point in that regard. Who knows? Rice as well popped up a few minutes later with a clearance, got his foot to the ball in the right time, just as a Brentford player was about to charge on through and have a shot directly out goal in front of goal, and you probably would expect him to score there. So at the other end, unfortunately, we didn't quite create enough. I know much is going to be said about that Gabriel Martinelli chance, and look, I've seen it on replay, and it looked even worse to me than when it happened live. And I know he's going to cop some flack, some fallout from that. And I understand why. This is the nature of football. It's the reactionary nature. I understand all of that. However, on the balance of play, can we really complain that we didn't win this match or ended up taking the 3 points? I don't know. When you look at the overall picture, the landscape of that second half as well, when the game was there for the taking, we didn't do enough. For what it's worth, when we broke through, it was a beautiful ball by Gyökeres. It won't get much a spotlight, unfortunately, because of the way the game has ended, and there's so many other things to take the headlines. But the way Gyökeres has flicked that ball over was fantastic. Timbers through. We play it in. We work it to Martinelli. All he's got to do is just strike it first time. Take that far corner. It was there. It was there wide open. It was there for the taking. Unfortunately, that extra touch. Kelleher, very good goalkeeper. He's closed him down and gone. That situation, that opportunity is gone, unfortunately. However, in the interest of fairness and balance, which, look, I try to do, I know I'm accused of being very biased and one-eyed from an Arsenal point of view. I accept that. I acknowledge that. In the interest of fairness as well, if we're going to isolate the Martinelli chance, you also have to look back on how lucky Arsenal got with those Thiago chances. When they were clear through, they had space, they had time. We were looking tired as well. I think Timber, as the game went on and on, he became more and more ineffective. He was looking very tired, understandably, the load he's carried. You've got Ben White on the bench sitting there. I know that's going to be a conversation. Even that pass very, very late on, that even so deep into injury time, I think the final passage of play effectively, we've done well to work it out. Rice played out to Rice. Rice has cut the ball inside. Timber, he's trying to get it to Saka on the right. It was a tired pass, intercepted, and they come sweeping forward again. And that's just a player who's tired. And unfortunately, we were stretched. Thiago had the chances. And look, if you can't really make too much of the Martinelli moment in isolation if you don't acknowledge the other ones too at the other end. So maybe they cancelled each other out. I'm not quite sure how to really explain that because I'm still processing my thoughts live from a very eventful game and a very tiring game as well, all the way over here in Australia too. Trust me, I feel it. I'm feeling the pressure of this title race. And, obviously, I actually said to my sons that after we went ahead on 64, 65 minutes, when Brentford responded so well, by the way, to that goal, I was saying to my sons, can we blow the whistle? Can it just be done? Because I'd want the game to finish and just to bag the 3 points and move on. But unfortunately not to be. So I should head back to the start of the game now and talk about selection. As I mentioned before, there was a nice timely boost with some returning players from injury. Trossard was fit to start. That was fantastic. We have missed him. Saka and Odegaard on the bench was excellent. Saliba, I think it's illness. I believe I saw some quotes attributed to Arteta that he said he was feeling unwell this morning. Okay, so Mosquera is in, and Mosquera, I think he's fantastic. He's just a fantastic option to have up your sleeve to come on, and I felt completely fine about that. Sure, it would have been great to have Saliba and Gabriel in a game like this. Do we concede the goal with them both on the pitch? I'm not quite sure, but Timber played as well. Hincapié chosen at left back. That's fair enough. Calafiori was rusty last week against Sunderland. I know he needs the time and the minutes, but maybe Hincapié was deemed fit enough to start this one. He gives us something on the outside too. Rice and Zubimendi in midfield. Eza started. I think that was crucial for him. Ever there was a time for Eza to lay his marker on this Arsenal team, it's now in this run-in. With Havertz injured, unfortunately. Havertz is out for four to 5 weeks, I believe. That's a very unfortunate blow. When you look at the other injuries we've already suffered, Marino as well is out. Waneri's out on loan. I know that's another conversation, especially with De Zerbi sacked there as well. There's a question mark on how much is Waneri going to develop there. Is he better off staying at Arsenal? I'm not quite sure, but that's probably a separate conversation for now. Yet Trossard, as I mentioned, Gyökeres started, which is good. I've got to say, Gyökeres was very, very good this game. Again, it won't quite get the headlines that it probably deserves. And I know he doesn't have those clear-cut chances and shots on goal to show for it. But overall, when I looked at the way the opening 10, 15 minutes was played, it was quite heavy rain. The conditions were very, very unpredictable. The ball was fizzing around, slipping around. Arsenal were making some unusual sloppy passes as well. Balls just, missing their teammate, going out for a throw-in. There was that moment, even Gabriel tried to knock one back. He got it well past Raya, went out for a corner out of nowhere. That was needless. Through all that sloppiness, what stood out to me was Gyökeres' touch. He was a genuine outball. We'd play it over to him, and he was able to control, pad the ball down, link it on, flick it over. I thought he was controlling the ball. His technical quality was very, very good this game, and it's notable because it hasn't quite been there. He's been a bit rough in those sort of first touches. But in a game like this, when so many other passes was being sprayed everywhere around him, I think Gyökeres deserves some credit from the way he was able to string passes together, string passages to play together. He broke away once. He got a clear pullback from the opposition play. I think was it Janssen? I can't quite remember. I'm sorry. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But a clear yellow card, and Gyökeres was a handful. Speaking of yellow cards, the ref was throwing them about, wasn't he, in the first half? Keith Andrews copped one. Gyökeres himself got one for that. That's a really harsh yellow card for just a very stock standard challenge. It's a foul, sure, on his defender trying to come forward, but I don't see how that was a yellow card at all. But Gabriel copped one as well. That was probably there when he slid in. But there was a few yellow cards, being thrown about early. And look, overall, the first half we weren't quite there. Again, maybe we're working our way into the game. Eza, unfortunately, didn't really take his chance, and I don't want to single him out and isolate him, just purely him, because I think collectively Arsenal were well below. We were just playing within ourselves, a few notches below what we come to expect, especially a match of this stature when everyone's watching and they're all looking for that moment for Arsenal just to say, yep, this is our title. We're going to go ahead and win it. We're going to all just, produce that kind of elite level performance. It wasn't quite there. Eza was subbed off at halftime. I don't really think he can complain too much about that. I think it was kind of expected that at some point Odegaard would come on. Odegaard's probably deemed not fit enough to start and play the 90 minutes. So he was there, whether he can play 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. And I think Arteta, based on what he saw, how ineffectual we were in that first half, has decided, he's going to make the change at halftime. And Eza, unfortunately for him, he didn't quite really step up. He didn't quite take his... that position is up for grabs, is what I'm trying to say. You can seize it. You can make it your own, especially with injuries to Marino, Havertz now, Odegaard returning from fitness. There was a pathway there for Eza to say, yep, this is mine. I'm going to take that position. And unfortunately, his performance wasn't quite there. And understandably, he was subbed off. I thought Arsenal were very, very good in about the 10, 12 minutes prior to halftime. We started to dial up the pressure. The intensity was there. The energy was there. We just looked different. And that continued into the second half. The opening, 10 minutes of the second half, again, the same. We looked far, far more like ourselves. We were cranking that pressure right up. And there was just a real swagger and energy returning to Arsenal. The way that we were searching, we were probing, we were trying to carve out chances. And it's the type of game, again, depending on what narrative you want to feed. If you want to look at it and say, well, why do we only play in patches? How come we are drifting so much through large chunks of first half, second half? Like, where is that across the 90 minutes? Understand, you've got a lot of evidence there to support that theory, if that's what you believe. Yeah, look, we just looked really good in that spell. Unfortunately, over the 95, 96 minutes of the overall match, we didn't do enough. But certainly in stages, we were right there. We were right there ready to just go ahead and win it. And what was lacking, though, was just that final end product, which has happened so often for Arsenal, as we know. We would create an opening, we would fashion half the chance, would be in their box. But that final ball, too many touches, taking the extra, cut back or something, we just weren't quite there to find that key final pass or the assist or the shot on goal, it just wasn't quite there. And there was a few of them who were, I guess, guilty of that. Madueke was one, Trossard two on the left. We would get in there, but we just didn't quite have that final shot or pass to show for it. The goal eventually came. It was a lovely passage of play on the left. We were patient in the build-up. Nketiah swung it over. I've got to say, the header from Madueke, he deserves a spotlight on this, because in a game where so many other things will dominate the headlines, I don't want this moment to be lost. This was an enormous goal for Arsenal. It was a brilliant header. I've grown up watching football from the mid-90s onwards. I followed Arsenal since 1995, and that type of header is the type of thing I've seen Alan Shearer do countless times. The way he would just make his body tall, he would strike the ball directly on the forehead. He would guide it to exactly where he wants it. Just like a cushioned ball down into the far corner. He would know exactly where he's going. He would just use the pace on the ball and guide it to the spot. It was the type of goal, a header, that would make a legendary centre forward happy. And that came from Noni Madueke. What a huge goal for him. A fantastic moment. Guided it beautifully, and it was huge. I just felt this enormous sigh of relief. I leapt up off the couch. It was a great moment for Arsenal, because we got that goal, and on the balance of play at that moment, we probably deserved it as well. The way we'd cranked up that pressure, and we had the goal to show for it. And it came from a source that I didn't think likely. Right, I didn't think we're going to score from a Noni Madueke header, but hey, that's what he's there for. There's opportunities here. There's moments here for Arsenal players to write their legacies. Madueke stepping in, starting a string of matches because Saka's been injured on the right. He can write his own story, right? He can write his legacy, and he's scored a huge moment in the not too distant past, when Arsenal were in that fantastic stage of consecutive clean sheets, giving the opposition nothing, giving them no shots on target. 1-0 away would be enough for us to go ahead and win it and win the game and take all 3 points. And shortly after the goal, we've had a chance to make it 2-0. Just again, a couple of too many touches, I feel. The ball was just sort of jagging left and right. Gyökeres, he's eventually just sort of struck fresh air with his shot, because we allowed too much time and space for Brentford to get back and clear the ball. So it wasn't actually long after that that Brentford eventually then scored their equaliser. And I've got to say again, just that they responded really well to the goal in going down 1-0. Their next 6-10 minutes, they probably deserved the equaliser. They really stepped up and caused Arsenal a lot of problems. They've eventually got their goal from that long throw. Boy, he can take a long throw, by the way. That's those were lethal. Every time we concede a throw in and around that area, I would hold my breath, because they're excellent on set pieces. I know everyone jokes and pokes fun at Arsenal about being set piece FC, but there are other teams that give as good as they get as well, and Brentford are excellent at that. It's a weapon of theirs, and they took full advantage. And in their goal, there was quite a heavy collision to Odegaard. It was another contact to the knee type of moment. He's unfortunately had a few too many of them for my liking this season already, and he looked in quite a bit of pain. He was down for a few minutes after. I didn't see it happen live. I just saw in the images after that that Odegaard was down needing treatment, and I half thought, like, has he twisted his knee or landed on his ankle or something? As it turned out, the replays show that in trying to clear the ball, he's collided with a Brentford player, and he looked in a fair bit of pain. I don't know, should he have continued? I'm not too sure, because he was hobbling around for a few minutes and just didn't quite have that same spring in his step since. But yeah, I guess when you look at the balance of this match, with how much there was on the line in that closing 20-25 minutes, maybe Odegaard has just said, no, I'm not coming off. I'm staying on. He's the captain. He's the leader. You want your big personalities, your big players on the pitch at that time. And speaking of which, we brought on Saka. When I saw him getting ready from the interchange bench, I wasn't filled with a lot of hope, I've got to be honest, because he had 2 hot water bottles, not one, but 2. I guess one on his thigh, one on his hamstring, it looked like to me, or maybe it was his hip. But when I see him receiving instructions and unzipping his jacket, and he's also taking off hot water bottles, in my head, I'm thinking, should we be doing this, right? I understand that he was targeting the North London derby to return in a week and a bit. However, if we push him too early, if we overload him now, I was a bit worried that, like, are we going to come back to regret this if he gets injured again and he's out for a longer period of time? But Saka, unfortunately, the right hand side, it didn't really work in that last 20 minutes or so. I know The game was end-to-end stuff. It was far too wide and stretched and open for our liking for us to do our thing and string passes together. But Saka didn't really get into the game, unfortunately. If ever there was a time for Bukayo, it was now as well. We tried to get the ball out there, but we were closed down far too often. And unfortunately, Saka, he really couldn't get into the game. Were we better off keeping Madueke on? I'm not quite sure. Did we use all 5 subs? I don't think we did. We brought on, so Martinelli's come on, Calafiori's come on, Odegaard I've already mentioned, Saka. So we had one more up our sleeve. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. I didn't really see Jesus warming up on the sidelines. It didn't seem that at any moment we were going to make a change in the centre forward position for Gyökeres. They seem to be time sharing that position for now. But Gyökeres has played the full match. Fair enough too, because he looked in good touch, and maybe we just thought all he needs is to fashion one chance late, and that could be the game. As it turned out, that moment it fell to Martinelli, which I've already addressed, and it wasn't to be, sadly. So here we go. I guess the game ends 1-1, and here we go now with the narrative. This is what we've got to prepare ourselves for now. As Arsenal fans, I think we're all prepared for what comes next. In fact, it's probably happening right now as I record this. And maybe you've already seen headlines or clips or post-match interviews and pundits, etc., really cranking up this narrative that Arsenal are feeling the pressure, that questioning our mentality again. Are we starting to, be fragile? Are we starting to bottle it? They love to use that word, especially when it comes to Arsenal. Manchester City are coming. Just a week ago, the gap was 9 points, albeit, of course, you have to give the proper disclaimer to that. That was because Arsenal played first and City had the game in hand. They've won that match and they played before us this particular match day. So the gap was 3 points heading into this fixture with Arsenal's game in hand. We've drawn. We've managed to take it back to 4 points. So, just like that, within a week or so, how things can swing and change so significantly. You know what happens next. So be mindful of what you consume. Be mindful of how many rabbit holes you go into with that sort of stuff, because from a broadcaster's point of view, they're loving this. They want this to go as deep as possible. I still full well believe that Arsenal will win this Premier League. We will lift this trophy finally. We will conquer that mountain. It's just not going to be as easy as smooth or smooth as I'd much prefer. And we've still got a 4-point buffer, equal number of matches played now. We still go to the Etihad, of course, which is enormous. That's in April. I'm actually going to be in London for that period of time. A trip of a lifetime coming up for me and my family. I'll talk about that another time. I don't think anyone wants to hear about it right now in the complexion of this result. But we know what comes now. Arsenal are going to be, I guess, we're an easy target. And until you win something, I guess it comes with the territory. When you win and you win those major trophies and you get that monkey off your back and you answer all those critics and question marks, that's when a real level of respect comes from being in that elite category of team. But right now, we're not there yet. We're certainly tracking in that direction, and I believe we'll get there. We will climb that mountain. However, right now, there's going to be certainly enough evidence I guess material is the word I'm looking for all of those headlines to crank right up. So just be mindful of what you consume, and just, if you need to step away from that, I strongly encourage you. So 4 points is not disastrous whatsoever. All we're going to do, if you want to look at plain and simple, is that whatever City do, we match. If they win, then we win. If they draw, then look, obviously we don't want to draw, but I'm saying that if we just match their results, and week by week by week, that margin of error for them whittles down as long as we keep getting the job done. A point away to Brentford in isolation, it's not the end of the world. They're an excellent team. However, in the complexion of where we're poised right now and the way that the circumstances of this match fell, maybe it wasn't enough. But having said that, 4 points, and we still go to City. If we win there, which is something that we're going to have to do at some point, right? If you want to kill this beast, if you want to slay the dragon, so to speak, we've got to overcome them. We've got to beat them in the EFL Cup final. And if we draw them in the Champions League quarterfinals that week, so be it. Go out there and just do them, beat them. Just shake that narrative. Just go and conquer that beast, slay the dragon, as they say. And we can do it at the Etihad as well. We haven't won there in so long. I believe it's 2014, 2015, that Cazorla-Coquelin match when they were dominant in that game. It's time. It's time just to go there and do it. And if you want, like anything worth doing in life, you got to go and do it. You got to go and earn it and win it. And that's in Arsenal's hands. Pleasingly, that we're in control of that. We've got our hands on the steering wheel. 4 points is nothing to sneeze at. Is it as good as 9 points? Of course not. It could have been a lot more. It also could have been a lot worse if Brentford went ahead and capitalised on those late chances. And a loss here would have been very damaging for Arsenal, emotionally as well as in the title race. So we've scraped away with a point maybe, or maybe it's a hard-earned point, or maybe it's 2 points dropped. Whichever narrative you want to select, I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. I'm just putting my thoughts forward. But upon reflection, maybe this is a good point. I take it and move on. And we've got to go and beat Wolves next week. That match has been brought forward. So we play again before City. Then we go away to Spurs next weekend. New manager bounce awaiting us. But surely we go there and win away at Spurs as well in the North London derby. And then we're right back in control of the title race, which we already are, to be honest. But yeah, I think you know what I mean. So I'm going to draw a breath now. I think I'll bring this one to a close. I hope that helped. Please let me know how you're feeling. Please leave me any comments or feedback and questions. I read every single word. Please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on audio, please follow the show. Leave me a 5-star review. Any feedback or comments is most certainly appreciated. But don't despair, Arsenal fans. We still got this. Okay, so I hope that helped you. It's helped me. I'm feeling a bit better about it too. And I'll talk to you all soon. We're up next against Wigan, and maybe that's a welcome respite from the pressure of the Premier League. And yeah, okay. I will talk to you all again soon. Look after yourselves. Check in with your loved ones. Come on, Arsenal.